Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. We're going to go to the San Diego area. We're going to speak with somebody I've known for a couple of years, at least 3 years, Rhoberta, Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. She is the relationship help doctor. And as this is being recorded just prior to Valentine's Day, I thought it very appropriate to talk to Dr. Shaler about relationships and how to make them great. Let's talk about your background. You are a doctor. You've worked with the Marines. Marines have relationship issues, doctor?
Oh, they certainly do. Just think of the basis of why you're a Marine. It's because you're trying to do something about a relationship.
That's true. That makes sense. That does make sense. Tell us about your background. You have a doctorate. How long have you been working with people, helping them improve their loving stuff toward each other?
35 years.
Oh,
so
my!
I have seen a lot. I have clients all over the world, Mark, because I work through video conferencing now, and I'm so happy to be in this point in our wonderful technical world where that can happen. You're not limited to having people in your local area. People can find you from wherever they are and get help.
You also host some podcasts yourself. You've done TV work. You've done a lot of different things. You've been featured on Fox, Psych Central, Cosmopolitan, Good Housekeeping, The Good Men Project, eHarmony, blah, 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 blah. She's the real stuff, folks, okay? And you can find her by going to forrelationshiphelp.com, forrelationshiphelp.com. What is the number one problem between two people?
Well, the number one problem between any two people is that they fall in love with what's similar and they forget that there's going to be differences. So being able to have the conversations that are really necessary as well as meaningful as early in the relationship as makes sense is something that people don't like to do because it's tough. They don't want to find the places where they don't agree. They don't want to find those things because they love being in love. And so then those things get shuffled under the rug, and then they rise up when the relationship has some longevity to it. And these things are best talked about first, but if they're not, then talk about them as soon as possible. And unfortunately, the research done by John Gottman shows that people in relationship have a problem in their couple's relationship for 6 years before they get help. And that is just an incredible waste of time, energy, and goodwill. So if you're listening and you have a problem, even if it's only 6 minutes old, think about getting some help so you don't fall into that.
Some of the problems that I can think of are money, kids, exes showing up, kids from former relationships. I mean, these are the kind of things that people fight about?
Oh, for sure. Children and finances are going to be very high up. And depending on the emotional security of the two people involved in the relationship, there is going to be issues there, issues of trust, issues of goodwill, issues of perception, how you see things unfolding, if you're taking everything personally or not, if you have some breadth of perspective. Many times people don't. Maybe they've had a past relationship where they've been hurt. So being afraid to be hurt is front and center on their radar all the time. So they're almost expecting to be hurt, waiting to catch you out hurting them. And that changes the dynamic of the relationship incredibly right from the get-go. And we have to be as aware as possible of what we're bringing into a relationship so that old relationships are not being brought into the new relationship and have that new relationship painted with the expectations of the old one.
And so that you don't repeat. I mean, we tend to repeat. It's history.
Right. We do tend to repeat, but not a wise thing to do. When couples ask me, before I get into a relationship, what should I do? And I tell them, all right, great, do your own work. Know what you value. Know what your vision for your life is. Know what your beliefs about everything are, how the world works, how relationships should work, trust, all those things. Know yourself so well so that you can be interested in another person and you can be calibrating how do we fit because you know yourself so well. And that is a great way to go into a new relationship. But many times we go in needy or really wanting something wonderful or wanting to be loved or known or appreciated or acknowledged. And we're so searching for that we don't realize that we're supposed to be going into the relationship because it's a good fit and it's equal. I have 3 criteria, Mark, that all healthy relationships have, no matter whether they're love relationships or not. There needs to be equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. And if those 3 things aren't there and you cannot discover or uncover or create them, then that's not a good relationship for you.
We always here on the show talk about, doctors saying, do as I say, don't do as I do. That's based on the fact that doctors in the 60s said, stop smoking to a patient while they were smoking. So let me put you on the hot seat a little bit. What about you and your own personal life?
Well, I coined a phrase, Mark. I coined a term. And the reason I coined this term, the term is hijackals, is because I found that we needed a way to describe the behaviors, traits, cycles, and patterns that toxic, difficult people have. And in this day and age, people were rushing off to the internet, and they would say, my partner treats me this way, and they would forget that the internet is not a medical professional or a psychological professional. So the internet would say, well, that's what a narcissist does. So then they'd come back and they'd say, my partner's a narcissist, which you can't do, so please, nobody listening, do that. So I created this term, hijackals, so that people could have a non-clinical way of describing these patterns, traits, and cycles. Now, why I'm telling you that is that I was raised by 2 hijackals. I had the experience of being an only child of 2 difficult people with really, really poor senses of self-esteem, different ways of behaving in the world. So initially, of course, if you've had a parent who's a hijackal, you are going to be one of 2 things. You're either going to become a hijackal and lean in that direction, or you're going to lean in the direction of being what I call hijackal bait. I did. So my first relationship was someone who was like my parents. And that's the natural thing to do.
And of course, that's what we were saying, repeating history.
Exactly. So when I needed help in that relationship, I found, and many of my clients worldwide have told me they found the same thing. They would go to someone that they thought could help. The hijackal would manipulate, seduce, and exploit the therapist into believing their side of the story. And then the person who was being hurt, who went there to have someone see what was happening, was re-wounded by the therapeutic process. So I did all the work that I could do to understand this completely. I knew how it felt being raised by one. I knew what it felt like to live with one, be married to one, divorce one, co-parent one. And so I just made it my life work to help people to recognize what's going on, to realize why it was attractive to you, then to restore yourself to some sense of sanity and reclaim your life in an empowered way. Whether you stay or you go, and those are individual decisions. They're very different in different cases. There's no one right answer. But that's why I created that, because I've been there, done that, have the ugly video and the very ragged T-shirt. And so I've walked through it, and I know.
You've walked the walk. You have walked the walk. Our guest is Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, the relationship help doctor. You can find out more about her at forrelationshiphelp.com, forrelationshiphelp.com. She's written 16 books. I'm struggling with 3, and I can't get them on paper. The author of 16 books, including the Hijackal ebook series, Escaping the Hijackal Trap. And you'll find more information about Rhoberta on latenighthealth.com, latenighthealth.com. I wrote a note to myself, for better or for worse. So as we get into a relationship, we're at that 6-year, the 14-year, the 25-year mark, people change. Is for better or for worse. I mean, if everything is hunky-dory, everybody stays. But if it goes worse, shouldn't we try to work it out before we go and enrich some divorce attorney?
Well, yes, I absolutely believe you should, because you need to know, if you don't know, how to create emotional intimacy. And many times that hasn't been seen in the family. Maybe your family did not have emotional intimacy, so how are you going to create that in a relationship? You may have a nice Hallmark card idea of it, but that's not the reality. You have to know the skills. You have to have some idea of how that works. So, yes, you get into a difficult situation in a relationship, and if you're with a somewhat healthy person, then yes, by all means, you're going to want to figure it out. You want to grow from the experience and the learning, be enriched, and have more emotional intimacy as a result of walking through a difficulty. Or you may find out that you have been suffering under delusion that you were loved when really you were being used. Then you need to figure that out, The
day that we are recording this would have been my parents', I'm trying to think, almost 70th anniversary today. They both passed, but my parents were affectionate toward each other. My father would come home from work and kiss my mom. I always saw them hugging. He'd come up behind her while she was cooking and give her a hug. Do we pick up on that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Because I do that to my wife now. Good,
because it's a little known fact by most people, and why would you know it? But for me, it's of great interest that long before you have language, you are seeing how you fit in the world, how relationships work, how you be a woman, how you be a man, how do you be a man or woman in relationship. All those things are being learned before you even have words for them. So you are just this little emotional sponge picking up everything. So yes, you are going to learn from your environment. Our brains grow until we're 25 years old. The first 5 years are the greatest area of growth.
Right, except for guys. Except for guys. We never grow up. You know that.
Yes, some guys never grow up. I've met some wonderful ones who have.
All right. Well, we're going to take some time out. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, the relationship help doctor. Join us at latenighthealth.com, latenighthealth.com. And maybe when we come back, we'll talk about having Valentine's Day year-round, having a loving, maybe even a little sexy relationship all the time. Don't go away as Late Night Health continues with the insane Daryl Wayne and me. I'm Mark Alyn. Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, DARRELLWAYNE.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?